God bless everybody today. It is November 9th of 2023. I had posted a video around the 6th of November and I removed it for a specific reason because there was some misleading information on here and I do not want to mislead you in the information that I'm producing out here. And it was weird because when you click on the video, it shows it's an older video, but when you click on the article, it shows it's for November 6th. So I'm not sure what was going on there. I'll sort of explain that as we go through this video, because I'm going to go through that video and then show you what did happen, because actually Raqqa mattered. I keep telling you, he explains things to me. I try to show it to you, and then it ends up happening. But I didn't want to mislead you on this. I want to show you what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to play this for a few minutes, and I want to show you what happened. God bless everybody today. It is November 6th of 2023. Kept mentioning that November 5th date and how it might affect the Kurds or Turkey or both, and I believe it has started. I'll show you some articles that I believe that are affecting us in real time right now, and we now have this happening on November 6th. We have a Raqqa, however you want to say that, offensive beginning. Now, like I say, this was misleading because when you click on the video, it shows it's an older video. But when you click on the link, it shows it's November 6th of 23. And so I had no way to verify it at the moment in time. I wasn't really sure. And things were going on the ground, so it was just a really confusing article. But anyway, I didn't want to confuse you. I just wanted to show you that there was an issue in this article. I don't know why it ended up being like this, but then on, I believe yesterday, we actually had a major event in Raqqa that really happened. And so I wanted to show you what happened there, and I'm also putting another video out about Turkey and how it's been basically denied EU extension, and Turkey's not going to, Erdogan's not going to tolerate this much longer. So we're going to watch him walk out of the EU here real soon. But anyway, this article was misleading, and I do not want to mislead you. But the rest of the article had pertinent information. I just want you to realize that this was a problem here, okay? The video doesn't have a lot of information, so I'm not going to go into that. Basically, it says, at the height of the Syrian civil war, a group of forces came together to claim the northern regions of Raqqa from the Islamic State. The Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, which are comprised largely of Kurdish fighters, led the offensive. Now, this was an attack actually that occurred back in 2017. So what was this? So on November 6th, but in the same breath, we had a number of things happening at this very specific time. And so, I don't know, maybe a history to future thing playing out here a little bit, sort of like the Yom Kippur thing. 50 years later, we had an attack just recently. Also, you had Erdogan break out on Yom Kippur on October 9th of 2019. And so these things reoccur. This was a fairly large battle out here. And so it's extremely important that we try to verify this information, and that's hard to do sometimes out here. You got to realize things are moving in real time, and there's a lot of disinformation, which is what I'm trying to keep away from. But I also think that he brought this to my attention because we just had an event that happened in the same place or around the same area that did affect us, and it was a fairly large incursion by ISIS. So I'm going to show you that as we move forward here. And then on yesterday, or on the 8th, we had this actually fairly large attack on Raqqa in the Raqqa desert, which I thought was really interesting. And up to 30, at least it says 30 pro-Assad fighters were killed by ISIS. So that's pretty significant. Normally when you use, we lose a few here, they drop a drone on somebody or whatever, but not 30 guys. So this was some pretty extreme fighting. Israel's been in Gaza for, week or so, and they only lost like 50, 60 guys already, I mean, in general. So this was a fairly large battle. This happened just recently. I got an article here I want to show you about it. So if you look at this article, it says ISIL, or ISIS, I hate ISIL. It's a slang thing that Obama threw out because he didn't want to do the Muslim thing. I'm sorry, but that's the reason that he always called it ISIL instead of ISIS, because he's trying to protect these people. Anyway, ISIS, God, isn't that terrible? ISIS attacks, kills 30 in Syrian desert. So just a few days after I kept bringing this article up, I don't know why it was important. It seemed to show that something was going to happen there, and it actually did. Just saying, sort of works that way in my world. I don't know how to explain it. So armed group waged parallel attacks in the regions of Raqqa, Homs, and this other area. And so 3 simultaneous attacks went off at the same time. So that's pretty important. And 30, at least, says the attacks killed 26 members of the National Defense Forces. I believe that it indicates that up to 30 Syrian pro-government forces, trying to go through this article here, we've had this, it says we've had this string of attacks. ISIS, an armed group that once commanded over 50,000 fighters, declared its own caliphate across large parts of Syria and Iraq in 2014. And like I say, this battle was in 2017 that I had shown you prior. But now we have this additional attack. And so it's just interesting how he gives us information and then it actually plays out in front of us. And whether it's coincidence or not, but I just wanted to let you know I had removed that original video. I'm going to actually show you the rest of the video because I think it was pertinent to this time. But do realize that there was some misinformation here. I did not want to do that to you. That wasn't the point. But this was a huge event over here in this area. Okay, this is really opening up on the northern and front of Syria and Iraq at this time, and you're going to start to see a lot going on over here as Erdogan starts to get into this war. So anyway, I'm going to run this forward a little bit. I'm going to finish this video up, and then I'll do another video on Erdogan and the events that are happening over in the Middle East at this very moment. So I'm going to pick up the video from here. That's the next article that was in that chain of articles in that video that I just showed you. And again, I'll apologize one more time. Never try to give you disinformation. Just want to give you the facts out here. And look, if you can't see Daniel 8 is starting to form and getting ready to happen, and Turkey's not going to get in this fight, it's just naive, I think. And you don't understand your Bible very well. And no one's talking Daniel 8. I'm the only one out here, other than a couple other people that I talk to, that even knows Daniel 8's on the agenda here. But you're going to figure it out sooner or later. And it'll be too late when you do. But we'll see how that turns out. But I got sort of called out on that one. That's fine. When you see something wrong, call me out on it. I'll try to clarify or, justify my statements out here because I'm not trying to mislead you in any way, shape, or form here. And so I will retract things. I will tell you it's wrong. If the paradigm doesn't pan out, it's wrong. Hey, I'll be the first one to admit it. I'm just an analyst out here, okay? Showing you that there's possible connections here that you might want to be aware of and seem to be playing out in some respects. We'll see how that turns out. The one other thing I want to mention right before we go on forward is the November 7th date was a date out of the history book for the Battle of ISIS. It's not on the paradigm for a reason, because I think it was interesting that in that time of this, that we're seeing right now with Turkey getting ready to break out into Syria, and that Alexander the Great's movement are the movements that he's going to use, in my opinion, it will play out that way. You just got to let it have some time here. God's going to do this in his time, not mine. I'm just showing you dates that I think are pertinent to this time. It seems to affect us about this time. We had this attack on Raqqa on, November 8th instead of November 5th, and we had a breakout on November 5th in Turkey when they, and you're going to see that as we move forward because he's going to have these new phases. He starts around October 5th, so this is an important thing to look at, and that all this stuff's going to break out all at once. The only date I've got at now after the October 9th date is December 22nd for sure, and that's tentative, and I believe that'll be a siege on Jerusalem by 10 full nations of Muslims. We'll see how that turns out. Anyway, let's watch the rest of this video. I think it's extremely important, and then I'll move on to a different topic. I do realize all these articles are today or within the last 24 hours, so things are picking up tremendously. I don't know why November 5th seemed to be a date. That's a history thing, guys. I'll keep telling you, got to know your history here. 2 Kurdish fighters killed in Turkish drone strikes in Iraq. So there's multiple strikes happening in these areas, in different regions of this area, and so we need to keep an eye on all these different articles and things. I think this article says a lot, so I'm going to bring this one to your attention. Turkey bombs the Kurds in Iraq and Syria. This is from the Modern Tokyo Times. I get stuff from all over the place. That's what I keep saying. I just try to bring you the most pertinent pieces of information I can. The armed forces of Turkish unleashed fresh military strikes against the Kurdish Workers' Party PKK in northern Iraq. This comes on top of a recent airstrikes in Syria in recent weeks by the armed forces of Turkey. It is further evidence that Turkey can launch military airstrikes and ground troops into northern Iraq and northern Syria while continuing to occupy northern Cyprus. And that's another thing, they're talking about all these, they're expanding everywhere, okay? Turkey's not been messing around and nobody's paying attention to this. It's amazing they can come against Israel and what the Gazans did, but they've been doing exactly the same thing to all these groups down here. Hence, further evidence of non-Arabic speaking nations, America, Iran, Israel, and Russian Federation and Turkey dominated the essential military skies in Western Asia. The Middle East, outside the Gulf Alliance, bombing Yemen. Iran also heavily involved in Yemen. Therefore, Arabic-speaking nations, including Bahrain, Egypt, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, need to address these issues along with other regional nations. The armed forces of Turkey launched fresh airstrikes this weekend against 15 PKK locations deemed to be a threat to Turkey. Attack occurred in the regions of Hakkari in northern Iraq. Turkey often launches strikes against targets in Syria and Iraq that is believed to be affiliated with the PKK, a Kurdish separate group. that has waged an insurgency against Turkey since the 1980s. And that's what I mean. That's been going on for a while. You know, they talk about this. I'm not going to go through this whole article, but they've been attacking. They launched an operation in 2016. They launched another operation on October 9th of 2019. It's important that we understand sort of the history of what's going on here. It indicates the Turkish president's statement, or Erdogan, naming the war that leads to cutting off water, electricity, roads, and destroying infrastructure, places of worship, and schools as massacres is exactly what this government is doing in northeastern Syria. Turkish occupation commits massacres and war crimes every day. So this is talking about the Syrian Democratic Forces, talking about Erdogan and Turkey. Turkey regularly carries out airstrikes in northern Iraq and has sent commandos to support its offensive as part of a long-running campaign in Iraq and Syria against militants of the Kurdish PKK and Syrian Kurdish YPG militias. You also got, like I say, the SDF's involved in all this too. So you got all these different groups going on here. Ankara regards both of these as a terrorist group, and Assad's forces, the Syrian defensive forces, indicate through Assad himself that the terrorism in Syria is made in Turkey. So this is starting to heat up over here. I'm telling you, you need to watch the Kurds because they're the Medes, and the Medes are important in especially the last 5 chapters of Daniel. So this is extremely important that this has broken out about the time I thought it would. Even though we don't have that massive incursion or offensive of ISIS that we were talking about, we still have now a lot of different offensives going on at the same time that are basically covering the complete northern sections of Iraq and Syria, and so this is going to become a real problem as we move forward. So nobody really talked. About this one, but Anthony Blinken yesterday goes to Iraq. Why? Because they're having all kinds of problems over here too. It's not just in our Israel. He's got stuff going on everywhere. Okay, this is the look. The Biden administration is the warmongering government that we were hoping we'd never have, okay? And so we do have them now, and it's becoming a real problem. But look at these articles. So he makes this trip over to Baghdad. All of a sudden, this stuff breaks out on November 6th, or today, right after he leaves, okay? He says, Blinken tells us, this terrorist group, that those responsible for ongoing attacks against our forces must be held accountable. And then they all of a sudden put out a thing that states that, well, that's nice and all, but all political solutions are useless, and we are only left with military operations against U.S. embassy and bases. Okay, so if you've gone and looked at Blinken's last visit over there, it was worthless. He accomplished nothing. And he looked fragged and wore out by the time he got back, and they have nothing good to say about any of it, okay? So they put this statement out against us yesterday on the 5th. Wow, the 5th I told you the 5th was going to be an interesting date. Here's one that a new rogue terrorist called. So we got a new rogue terrorist group. Wow, interesting. They carried out 4 attacks. Carried out attack with 4 81 millimeter mortar shells on one of our bases. It looks like. It's crazy what's going on out here. It's crazy you can map this out. It's amazing. So also both these groups targeted by suicide drones in Erbil. Erbil's extremely important. That's Gogmela. You're talking about the regional capital of the Kurdistan people, and it's a green zone of ours. We're all attacked simultaneously. This was all in the last 24 hours here, guys. Another drone attack on this air base in western Iraq. This isn't, I mean, they're talking Syria here. Syria's got a lot going on too here. They keep talking about this recent crisis in the region is not the result of the Al-Azaq flood. Well, no, because this is a totally different group of people. Okay, that's not Hamas. It has nothing to do with Hamas, even though Hamas is in the middle of all this in Israel. So Turkish artillery is shelling villages. You got reports of Jordan intercepting missiles fired at Iraq or towards Israel. This is alarming. The number of attacks on U.S. troops in Iraq and Syria rose significantly over the weekend, from 30 to 38 in total, according to the Pentagon sources. Number of service member wounded also rose to 46 in total as troops continue to report injuries as of October 17th and 18th in attacks, and we're not doing anything. We're just letting them attack us right now. Biden's so inept he cannot even defend our own bases right now, okay? Iraqi factions announced that they have targeted 4 American bases in Iraq and Syria in the last 3 hours. In this article, the so-called Islamic resistance in Iraq says it revealed today for the first time that a medium-range missile, the Al-Azaq 1, which we're talking about the Al-Azaq Hamas, everybody's intermingled here, guys. You got to realize there's so much going on out here, and Iran's controlling most of the narrative out here. So you're going to see stuff all over the board here. Entered service, so now they have a new missile they're using as it was launched to target American bases in Iraq and Syria, including some other areas. And this was an hour ago. The Islamic resistance in Iraq releases footage of today's attack on multiple bases in Iraq and Syria because they're using it as a propaganda machine. Look, guys, I'm sorry to tell you that the paradigm might just be right, and you need to really watch what's going on between now and December 22nd, which is 10 Tevet, which is a total siege on Israel, and a potential 6th seal event that first week of January on January 6th, based on my paradigm charts. Now I've been showing you out here. Just realize this thing is really starting to break out, and we need to keep an eye on all this stuff. Sorry about my phone, guys. I seem to be getting a lot of information today. I can't keep up with everything, so if it's a little frustrating, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to pass on as much information as possible. So keep your eye on everything out here. I've been trying to warn you that this is going to break out. It is breaking out. And this is just Iraq. You go into Syria, you got your own other things going on, and some of them are overlapping, of course. So I'm just saying, you can look at all these different areas and see what's going on out here. A lot of Russian stuff going on, a lot of Islamic stuff going on. None of it's going to benefit our guys over there, and we keep sending more and more stuff over there. Actually, we just sent a sub over there. And it's not a nuclear sub, it's a nuclear run sub, but it's not, it has conventional weapons. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up is we had that attack on one of our bases in Turkey by protesters. They actually stormed the compound. Now this is not normal, number one, and it's extremely alarming because we have like 50 nuclear weapons on this base, okay? So when people say Turkey's not nuclear, they really are. Actually, if they took our bases over, they'd have 50 nuclear bombs sitting there waiting to go off. So I don't want to hear about how Turkey's not a nuclear country. They're one of like 6 in NATO that actually house nuclear weapons, and they do house our weapons. So anyway, guys, I guess November 5th was a big date. Things are ramping up, and it's all about the Kurds and Turkey today. Wow, imagine that. Anyway, God bless everybody. If you haven't got your oil in your lamp, I don't know how many times I have to tell you, you need to get ready. Things are breaking quickly out here. I am so concerned that you're going to struggle on the ground when this thing does break. And when it does break, you're going to be in the middle of winter, at least in this country. So if you haven't gotten ready, you need to. This is going to break down quickly. God bless. Find the open door. I'll keep you updated as best I can. But this does look to me like It's a start of a new wave of attacks on not only us, the Kurds, and this will bleed over into Israel soon.